Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters. PGO Minecraft with game number 2 between the yellow Protoss player mouzHasu in the top left corner and his opponent Slayers MMA in the southeast corner, also known as the 8 o'clock position, I suppose, and also known as the bottom right-hand corner. There are so many different ways to talk about directions that I could spend an entire cast just talking about what direction each player is in, but I'm not going to do that because that's not very fun. What is fun is StarCraft. In the previous game, so I did switch to the Broodmore music, and I don't think I had it on repeat, actually, so you probably ended up missing as soon as it turned off. I mean, it's possible it's more noticeable for you than it is for me. I'm trying to, pay attention to the game, so I don't always notice when there is and isn't music playing. But sometimes I notice, and I did notice at the end of that game that it was not, in fact, on repeat, no longer playing, and so I put it on repeat so we'll be able to hear the entirety of it. And this will probably just be a one-time thing for those of you who are used to and enjoy the StarCraft 2 music, which I'm sure many of you do because that music is quite good. But anyway, this map is going to be on Shakuras Plateau, and I would expect to see fairly heavy economy builds. Looks like it is going to be a probably one gate expand from mouzHasu right there. He is getting his gateway out right away. It is possible for Terran players to put on a decent amount of pressure with a 2-Rex pressure build. For example, I know how it's called a pressure build and it applies pressure. Isn't that so unbelievably intuitive? Anyway. So it looks like he is actually getting gas, so he will not be going for the same build as the previous game. It's possible he's going to go for something like early Marauder pressure, which can do like tons and tons of damage if your opponent does go for a Nexus first. So I understand how mouzHasu whatever. Anyway, desire not to exactly go for the fairly risky build. I mean, it's not fairly risky on all maps, but on this map I would say it's fairly risky. He is getting a gas as well, so we should be seeing the cybernetics core going down as soon as the gateway finishes. This little probe has the honor of placing the warp beacon, which then allows the building to be warped in. How, I mean, I feel like Ire, I mean, get me wrong here, Ire is like just the manufacturing hub. Ire is like the, I don't know, what's like a good, like the California or the, I mean, I guess if you want to think like manufacturing, it's sort of like Michigan, right? It's like the Michigan of the Protoss world. Because everything that they ever use is built on Ire, and it always gets destroyed, and then all they have to do is like, oh, well, we'll build another warp beacon, and Ire will send us another one. It's like, really? You destroyed your cybernetics core again? That's the 3rd time. We're not sending you another cybernetics core. Anyway, just a thought. I wonder if like that entire like planet is just entirely filled with factories and people who do manufacturing jobs. They probably do a pretty good job in terms of employment rate because they have to build buildings for everyone, and I think units actually are warped in as well. So they have to train units on Ire. I mean, Ire must just be like, man, they just have a 0% unemployment rate because everyone's working, building things, that sort of thing. Looks like a tech lab is now going down for the barracks. Probably going to be, oh no, factory going down. Ah, okay, so he's going to be going Banshees. You can tell because his factory's in a little corner over there. Almost always going to be going Banshees in that sort of situation. Only one gas, though, which means that most likely he's going to be going for gasless Banshees. He will also not be doing a 1-1-1 build because, oh, but he's getting Marauders. Okay, so he might not be going Banshees. Not sure. Okay, so we're going to have to see. He is actually getting Marauder slow, which I don't think he got in for the entirety of last game. And the factory, factory's just gonna land on the bottom, and it's gonna build some Hellions right there. Okay, so that's interesting. It's gonna be a Marauder Hellion kind of pressure build, and we're gonna have to kind of see how that ends up working out. It should be fairly effective. The whole idea, obviously, is that the Marauders, with their slow, can really deal with the Zealots pretty well, and of course they can also deal a lot of damage to the Stalkers. And so, like, the Hellions will provide the DPS against the Zealots, where the Marauders slow them. And you can also just kind of move straight into your opponent's base with those Hellions. And of course, it's by no means an all-in attack, as you are able to expand behind it, which I'm sure that we will be seeing Slayers MMA doing. Looks like the SCV is going to get in, going to spot the expansion. That's exactly what he wanted to see right there, is if there was no expansion, his attack would not be successful by any stretch of the imagination, because, there's no way to really deal that much damage if your opponent hasn't expanded either. They're probably planning some sort of all-in as well and be getting good critical massive units. So I've actually fairly rarely seen this build, so we're going to have to see exactly kind of how much damage it does. There is only one sentry right here and fairly low amount of units. However, Warp Gate has just finished, and 2 additional gateways will be finishing fairly soon as well. Bunker is going down almost immediately. Nice job being able to basically slow down and pick off that Zealot right here, and it looks like Hasu is definitely going to have to cancel that Nexus right here, as I don't think there's any way he's going to be able to save it. And he's going to have to make the decision very soon, because even though it's not going to be destroyed for a little while, it's going to finish very soon. And obviously you can't cancel a building once it's finished. And yeah, he's going to be canceling it. Yep, there it goes. And I think that was a very smart decision on his part. Just because one of the easiest ways to take a losing situation and turn into a you have definitely lost situation is to try to fight back to save that Nexus, to send probes out to try to you know, ferry the damage, especially when there's so many Hellions right there. And very nice timing on that bunker finishing. The Stalkers went down to try to finish it off, but not quite able to do so. So that bunker will be there. His backup units are going to be right here as well, and probably he's just going to hold on to the soft contain for just a little bit of time. I would guess no longer than a minute or a minute and a half. And then he's going to go on head on home and salvage the bunker as well. Of course, in order to salvaging the bunker, of course, to try to recoup the minerals lost from building the bunker right here. But you can see that it's given him, instead of being behind on his expansion, all of a sudden he has grown ahead of his expansion because he was able to cancel the Nexus right there, which is exactly what this sort of build is designed to do. Maybe it's designed to also like maybe pick off sentries or something like that. You can see he has now salvaged that bunker right there. Hasu is going to send a Zealot down, see that, and he's going to go ahead and expand down there. Pretty soon. Yep, he's sending the probe right there. A couple of bunkers are now being built behind. A couple of Hellions are now coming out. I thought they might have been out of a reactor, but it looks like he only has one add-on. It's just the tech lab right there, which is now researching Stim. Stim again coming first. Look at that SCV, which is perfectly on patrol right there, able to spot the Nexus. Very nice job. Will be taken out by that sentry. Boom. Poor little SCV. Never even had a chance. And looks like this observer is going to be able to move across. He did get in transition basically into a 3-gate robo expand, although of course the expansion is going to be more delayed than it was previously. So Hasu is going to be in a little bit of a pickle at this point in time. Not exactly sure what direction he should be going really. Yeah, I don't really know, because it's kind of a weird situation because you're behind. I guess you would just keep playing standard because he's not super far behind. You can see that he's actually at a very similar supply situation as his opponent right there. So, you know, just kind of keep going. Maybe go for double forge, unless you see he thinks his opponent's going for an all-in, which he will be able to spot because he does have 2 observers out. And this observer is going to be able to spot everything right here, the reactor and both of the tech labs right here, as well as the tech lab, which is researching something. And as soon as he can see that it stops researching and that his opponent does not have combat shields, he will know for sure that his opponent has Stim, but he would probably assume that anyway. Looks like the starport is now finished. Going to start able to pumping out medevacs. That's also going to allow MMA to be able to get a couple of drops going off. And that, observer, moving very close to that missile turret right there. Missile turrets, of course, can see farther than they can detect. And here's a fun fact about missile turrets, which you may not have known. So let's say you have a missile turret on the low ground here, and you have like units up here, like a Dark Templar up here, or an observer up here. And missile turret will not be able to spot them because it can't see them. But if you have another unit up here, the detection goes up cliffs and across walls and other line of sight blockers as long as something else is spotting it. It's weird, I know, but that's the way it functions. So that's a helpful tip for those of you who didn't know. Looks like he's setting the scouting factory this way just to check for a 3rd and 4th base, just to make sure his opponent isn't trying to come back in that particular way. And we are going up to 6 gates right now. These 6 gates could represent an all-in. They could also just be kind of to increase his production right here. He is going for charge and armor, so that tends to indicate more of a long-term game rather than going for kind of a 6-gate all-in. And of course, it's a little late for a 6-gate all-in. Okay. I was worried it wasn't actually going to be able to pick off that observer right there. Now, the observer did see them load up, and then it saw them scan, kill it, and so he could probably guess that the drop is coming. He does have his stalkers in position right there, not quite in position to be able to pick off the incoming medevacs right here. And this is, of course, one situation where blink is better than charge. Generally speaking, charge is also quite nice for drops, as you can just warp in zealots, and the zealots can tank, and then, you know, charge into the marauders. The marauders can't really kite them when they have charge, especially in such low numbers. But you can see the Hellions are now down here. That's going to prevent any SCVs from being able to expand. Meanwhile, the 3rd expansion for MMA is going to be almost completing, so he's going to be ahead of that as well, which makes sense as he was ahead of it in his natural timing. He's now almost finishing his armory, which will allow him to get weapons level 2 and armor level 2 for his upgrades right here. We can see that MMA decided to go the long way around, as by going the long raid, is he going to be able to pick off the forge? I don't think so, but it is possible. It looks like he's not going to be able to pick up the forge, and MMA is going to have to pick up and get on out of there. Looks like he didn't really lose anything, actually, because the stalkers couldn't pursue because of the force fields, but of course the force fields were necessary to save that forge right there. And, you know, Hasu actually maybe wants to even build an additional forge, I think. Oh, no, he does have 2 forges already. But I was just going to say, if he builds an additional forge, he can start upgrading there instead. But since he's already started it, looks like he's not going to be opting to do that. He just wants to make sure to stop any additional drops from being able to come into his base. Meanwhile, observers all around the map are able to spot basically all sorts of troop movements going around right here. Planetary Fortress now coming down on his third. Looks like this drop is going to be coming in again. Looks like able to pick off 2 probes and then get on out of there. Again, that lack of blink is really hurting Hasu. Of course, the Stalkers wouldn't have been in position anyway in that particular engagement. In the previous one, they definitely would have been able to take out at least one and possibly both of the medevacs right there. Which is why blink can be very useful in these sorts of situations for Protoss players. But of course, charge is incredibly useful as well, and is generally speaking more useful against large, major engagements. Slayer's MMA is now taking a pretty good supply lead at this point in time, and he's actually building a turret directly below that observer. If that observer doesn't move, it will face a swift end. We're going to have to go ahead and keep that clicked on as we... Oh, it looks like drops have moved into a different position, not going to move in again, it looks like. And it looks like this observer is also not going to be noticed by mouzHasu, so we can watch it die to the missile fire. It looks like actually the Viking stole the kill, that jerk. As oh no, it looks like the turret got the kill. Alright, never mind. I apologize, that Viking is not a jerk. But he did want to try to, he tried to kill Steel, was not allowed to, just barely. Looks like we've got, ooh, wow, this is very heavy Zealot composition. Let's go to Unit tab. 24 Zealots. He actually has more Zealots than Slayer's MMA has Marines. However, Slayer's MMA has just finished his Ghost right here, just in time for those High Templars, which warped in right here. Obviously don't have enough energy for Storm, nor do they have Storm itself finished, and that's of course because he's only on 2 bases instead of 3. I would guess that we should be seeing a 3rd expansion coming out very soon for mouzHasu, unless he's planning just to go for an all-in, which is entirely possible, but not really something I would encourage at this point in time, as his opponent has a very well-protected 3rd as well as several Ghosts, which can be very effective against this sort of unit composition, just kind of in general here. So as long as MMA chooses his proper battles to engage, he should be in just fine position. I believe, yes, his opponent does have an armor upgrade on top of him, but it looks like he's... Okay, he is sending a probe, so he is going to be expanding behind this, even if he tries to go for that aggression. Looks like he's going to not opt to attack inside of this, and I can say that I don't... Ooh, no, he is going to go for it. Alright, well, let's see if this works. Looks like the Zealots are actually wasting their charge right there. Some very nice EMPs right there, able to take away most of the energy on the sentries right here. However, that is a lot of Zealots, but they are dying fairly quickly. A good shield of Marauders around the Marines is really dealing a lot of damage to those Zealots right there, and a lot of the Stalkers are actually firing at the medevacs, which is normally a pretty good thing, but in this sort of engagement, I would actually guess that it's not a good thing, as you really want to be doing damage to those damage dealers right there. And it looks like he is actually able to take off the rest of those Zealots right here, and these Stalkers are just going to be basically taken out. Not exactly sure about the decision-making ability of mouzHasu after that engagement right there. I mean, well, first of all, his Zealot spread should have been better. He should have put it more into a line. I mean, he didn't have too much worm to work with. Looks like another drop is going to be incoming, by the way. But at the same time, I mean, it seemed fairly obvious to me that that was not going to be too successful there. He really would have needed some sort of miracle to be able to pull that out. It looks like he's basically going to be relying on High Templar and Zealots to try to defend himself in the future, and that's just going to be kind of tricky for him. Looks like this drop is still moving across. Going to keep that one highlighted. Looks like Planetary Fortress actually took some damage, so I would guess that there was a couple of Zealots went up that direction, possibly. I'm not quite sure. I missed that. I do apologize. Meanwhile, we see that SCV is able to take it out. These two medevacs are going to be moving in for a drop on the north at the same time that he's going for a drop down here. Looks like he will be able to pick off that photon cannon right there and probably get a number of probe kills as well. In fact, he will be getting exactly 2 probe kills. Should be picking up pretty quickly right here. Meanwhile, this drop is being landed right there. You can see the selection right here is the previous drop, just to see if anything happens with it. Looks like he's going to be able to focus on the Robo almost immediately. Very nice job. That's going to severely delay any sort of transition into Colossus at this point in time. Also able to pick up a Forge, another good thing, very nice. And, oh, he's probably going to be able to pick off the Templar Archives before Storm finishes. Uh-oh! Hasu in huge amounts of trouble right now as Storm did not finish. But did you see what he did there? He canceled it. I'm almost 100% certain that he actually just canceled Storm. And the reason why he canceled it is it made it look like to Slayer's MMA that Storm finished. Okay, we gotta make sure here. Yeah, he's turning him into Archons. Storm did not finish right there, so he's without Storm, even though he canceled it. Looks like this medevac did drop off again. I think I ended up clicking on something else, so didn't quite see the entire resolution of that. But very nice job from Hasu to be able to try to play some mind games on his opponent. His opponent is going to have to try to play around Storm. He doesn't have any High Templar to fake it exactly, though, so I guess that's not really going to be that big of an issue. But that was a really clever move there, canceling it right at the last second, so it makes it look like it did finish. And, of course, chrono boosting it, even though he knew he had no chance whatsoever of saving it. Looks like very nice army composition from Slayers MMA. He's going to be about 12 supply above his opponent right now, and Hasu is not going to want to try to engage right here. Looks like he's going to try to engage anyway. A couple of EMPs get off. A little bit of a miss right there with his Ghost. He's going to fire off his remaining EMPs, but he wants to make sure not to hit his Medivacs. Very smart job, and in fact, he did hit the Medivacs with a huge EMP. He just EMP'd right on top of those Medivacs. The Medivacs are not going to be able to heal his forces, but it might not end up mattering too much, as his units are in a fairly healthy yellow right now. And normally you would think of yellow as healthy, but in this case you definitely do, as they are able to chase away the remainder of the Protoss units right here, and Slayers MMA is able to maintain his 40 supply lead right now, able to pick up those 3 sentries as well. Baited out some force fields, and probably is going to get cleaned up by these Protoss forces, but it's really not going to matter too much, as the Protoss player is down to 70 supply right now. I don't think no additional drops are coming down right now, but Dark Templar attack has finished. 3 Dark Templars are being warped in. Not exactly sure where. I'm sure we were seeing them moving across, though. And of course, that Robo got picked off as well, so he is not able to get... Ooh, he's going to be able to get out. Nice, able to save 2 of the Stalkers right there. So a little bit sloppy right there, EMPing his own Medivacs. Where's the Dark Templar? Okay, Dark Templar are actually just part of the unit composition. Not quite sure what purpose that's supposed to occur, as there probably aren't that many turrets actually currently around Slayers MMA's base, so he's probably going to want to... Oh, God, and now he sees the Dark Templar as well. So Dark Templar are not going to be able to really accomplish anything at all. In fact, he's probably going to want to turn those into Archons pretty quickly right now. My guess is that was his plan anyways. He wants a less gas-intensive Archon, although since he's flowing in gas right now, that probably wouldn't be too bad of an idea to have Templar Archives as well, just to build additional Archons, some way to basically use that gas. Those Ghosts looking all badass with the little sniper rifles are going to go drop some EMP rounds. Very nice hit on top of all the Dark Templar. Scan isn't even necessary to see those guys, as they have been revealed by the scan. And very nice snipe on top of the Templar right there. On top of the Zealot, I believe, actually. And I think he's out of scans, but it's not going to matter. mouzHasu is going to have to GG out of this game. He is down by over 100, almost 100 supply. So, yeah, I mean, basically... That little drop up to the top little corner right there by Slayers MMA was able to deal so much damage to his opponent and stop any sort of tech transition. I mean, basically just killed his tech, and that was all he needed, right? Killed Templar tech, killed the Robo tech before the Robo Bay was even started, so you'd have to build another Robo facility and then another Robo Bay to get it. And, I mean, there's basically just no recovering from that, especially sniping Storm right before it finished. Very nice job from Slayers MMA. Looks like the very iconic Slayers MMA of old, the GSL champion and MLG champion, and GSL runner-up, I believe, as well. So, let's see if mouzHasu can take it from the best player on the Slayers team in game number 3. This is PGL Milncraft signing off.